All right, this is June 12th, 2018, an interview with Gail and Shirley Rosemergy for the German Historical Society. Purpose of this questionnaire is to guide you in recording the life experiences of members of your family. The information you record will become an important link between you and your descendants. It'll be here forever. What we're going to do is ask you a few questions, and you can answer them, any ones you want and any ones you don't want. Names of your mother's parents.
Wow, my mother's parents. Well, my grandfather's name was William Henry Thomas.
William Henry Thomas.
And the wife's name was, ask my brother Del.
Okay, we'll have to interview Del.
Yeah.
All right, how about you, Shirley?
I know my mother's father's name was Edgar. But I don't know. Elizabeth, I believe, was my grandmother's.
Do you want to give us your maiden name so that we have that on record as well?
My mother's.
Your maiden.
My name,
yeah,
Morecambe.
So that we have it on record.
Morecambe.
Okay, and do you know where they were born, where your parents were born? Were they born in this country or?
No, mine weren't.
I don't know about mine.
Wales and England. My grandfather was in Wales, and I believe his wife was from England, but it was on the border. She may have been Welsh also. I'm not
Sounds
certain.
like just the opposite.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
know what mine are, really.
Do you know what they did for a living? What their occupations were?
Our grandparents?
Yeah, your parents.
Our
parents.
Oh, our parents. Well,
Yeah.
my dad worked in the mines.
Here in German?
Mm-hmm. He worked over there at, what do you call that place? Where Lotney? Where
Oh, where the big
The pumps.
the
pump
pumps.
was?
Yeah, my
Pump
dad
house.
worked there. When I have pictures of I have a couple pictures of him riding the thing down.
Oh, okay.
My mother didn't work.
Mm.
And your dad had a gas station, didn't he?
My dad had many jobs.
Oh.
My dad had he was the manager of the A&P store that
The one
was
right
in the
here?
lot across from our church here.
Okay.
There's a postcard around with, he's on the picture of it. I think the Historical Society
I'll
has
be
that.
right over there. Yeah.
Right. And another one in there was Bill Staples and Russell Giles. And there's the shortest man there, I'm not sure of his name. But my dad had there, he worked at Bethlehem Steel. During the war he was at Remington Rand in Binghamton grinding propellers.
Oh.
I'm not sure what he did at Bethlehem Steel. He worked powder mills in Peckville. He worked there once during an explosion he was working there. He said it was the hardest job that he ever had because he was working a belt line and you couldn't smoke. So he ended up chewing tobacco, and he said they had uniforms and the pockets were all open, woven like that, so you couldn't hide cigarettes in it. And had one there and two in the back. And he said if you forgot to take the chew out before you went on the line, he said you'd have to work to get back in the pocket and get it out. And then he said you'd work ahead a little bit and you get it open. And he said the third time you worked ahead, you could get them popped in a mouthful. He said, so, yeah.
So it was non-stop in the mines.
Non-stop, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the A&P store, he said they sold 3 kinds of coffee, 8 o'clock, Orange Circle, and Bocar. And he said the branch manager would come in and interview him and look at the store over, and he said to him, it sold for 15, 17, and 19 cents a pound. And the super said to him, Jim, push coffee. It's a very profitable item. That's probably 1928, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And where did they live in town? Where did they live? Your parents?
Well, mine lived where the parking lot is at the Windsor, right there in the alleyway. That's
In-
where
In behind it.
they did
Yeah.
live on
That
Lincoln
little
Avenue.
House that was right there on the
On the
side of the
alley.
alleyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I was raised there.
Okay.
My dad was born in Mayfield, and they lived numerous places, I think, in town, rented. And in the early 30s, we moved to Uniondale, and we lived up there about 7 years, I believe. He worked at Gibson and Spencer. It was a cutting meat.
Okay.
That's what they did. It was a slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Then you ended up on Lincoln Avenue.
Then they ended up on Lincoln Avenue, yeah. When they moved back from Uniondale,
Yeah.
a couple of years after they moved back, they bought the home up there. And they scrounged up $500 because that's what it cost for the house. No,
Yeah. Big profit selling it now.
no.
My father wouldn't buy the house across the street from where we lived on Jefferson because it was $5,000. He said it was too much.
See that?
No furnace,
Yeah.
no inside plumbing. And,
What year? You know what year that was, roughly?
uh,
Was that after the mines caved in up that way?
yeah, it was in the late 40s.
Yeah, that would have been after the mines.
Yeah, mid 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember your grandparents at all? Were they alive when you were really young, or do you have any memories
Well,
of them?
I have a memory of my one grandfather, my mother's father. He lived with us.
Yeah. Do you
he
know
was-
where?
He was over 90 when he died.
Do you know where he worked when he was younger? Did they ever talk
No.
about it or no?
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm.
You had a grandfather?
Yeah.
Lincoln?
I had two grandfathers. One I knew well, and the other one I didn't know quite as well because when I was an early age, we were in Uniondale. We weren't close by.
Close by, yeah.
And, he was a beekeeper, and well, my brother Jim, we have a picture of him, and he's covered with bees. He's bare from the waist up, and he's covered with bees, his whole body. And yeah.
Wow.
My dad always had him around in the yard too. Yep. My grandfather, the one William Thomas, he worked at the pump rooms, and he cross-shifted Shirley's dad,
Oh, okay.
and doing the same job. Yeah. And he was a bloody Welshman. He'd sit there and sometimes we were down there a lot when we first moved back from Uniondale, and we'd get down there, listen to the radio. Joe Louis fights.
Oh.
He lives.
Oh,
he
Pat,
lived
he
where
lived-
Pete lives.
He lives where Pete lives now,
Okay.
on Lincoln. But he loved Joe Louis. And, Joe Louis is on, and oh my God, we had to go down to listen to Joe Louis
Yeah.
in the boxing. Yeah, but he'd sit back sometimes and he'd sing in Welsh, and you'd hear him wailing away. And my mom could sing a little Welsh with him, but we never learned it.
Yeah.
But Pappy would. Yeah.
Huh. Did they ever talk about their parents? I mean, are there any stories that you
Not
can remember?
that I remember.
I
No.
don't remember any.
Mm-mm. There. Shirley's family was large. How many? Eight were you?
My mother had, well, she had 13, but 8 of us survived.
Eight children.
Now I'm the last.
Shirley's the
Really?
last.
You're the last?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep.
And my father's family, they had 5 boys, including him, and 1 daughter. And of course, they've all passed too.
Do you have any relatives that you are aware of back in Wales or England or anything? Did you ever research?
No, one of my father's brothers, Bill's sons, Bill, he did a lot of research, but I don't have it.
No.
And I think it was
Well,
1992.
there was a thing in that magazine.
Yeah. Well, that really wasn't about.
No, it wasn't about him.
Yeah,
It was
but-
Rosemergy.
It was a Rosemergy farm, 1992, in the National Geographic.
Oh.
They were doing a coastal review over there, and in that it was pictured the Rosemergy farm. So
Oh.
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the copy.
So they came. You're saying your family came here from England and Wales, probably to work in the mines, more than likely, or to work, just
to work. Yeah.
But
I think he probably worked tin mines over there.
Yeah. Okay.
I imagine he did.
I don't know anything.
But
really
that was quite an article, and
Wow.
they were tearing a lot of the stone walls down in Connecticut and all over, and now they've done it in Pennsylvania. But I was always on the champion of they should be arrested. They shouldn't be allowed to tear them walls down. They all have a boundary. They all mean something, and nobody knows or cares. And I was always ranting and raving. This came out in '92, the National Geographic one, and all you can see is stone walls going this way, that way, and everywhere.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Oh, no wonder Rosemergy has so much mouth about the stone walls." So, yeah, it wasn't connected, but it got connected. Yeah.
Well, you answered some of these questions already about where you lived as a child and some of the other buildings that might have been on the property, but there really wasn't anything on that property. But when you were a kid, were the horse stables or any of that stuff still there, or down by the Windsor, or was that all, that was on?
Well, the barn,
there was
the
a
thing
fire.
that was there burned down,
Yeah.
and the base of it was there, and we used to have fun jumping over where the windows were, the space, to see if you could jump, make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was still there when I was a kid.
Was
And the movie theater
Assembly
was-
Hall was still
And the
there.
movie theater was.
Assembly Hall was there.
Assembly Hall was there.
The
and had
movie
And the
theater.
movie Shirley used to.
My brother Junior and I used to sit behind the movies and listen to it because we didn't have the money to go in.
Yeah.
But Junior and I used to sit there and listen.
And next door was Langman's store. Was that Langman's store?
Up on the corner.
Up on the corner.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
Was there a
Langman's.
building in between?
There was a little
Yeah.
shed.
It was more of a.
It belonged to them.
It was like
Belonged
a
to
small
Langman's,
barn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a little green. If I remember,
Yeah.
it was there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a
Oh,
cement
yeah.
thing there too.
Yeah.
Cement.
Right next door to our
Yeah.
lot. You know.
Mhm.
But when you were a kid, was Langman's store there?
Yes.
Was it a meat market then?
Mhm.
And-
The
and the
grocery
dress
store.
factory and the other dress shop on
Dress
the
shop.
Yeah,
upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, that was upstairs.
Upstairs.
Okay.
Mhm.
'Cause I know
And what was her
Emma.
name?
Emma.
Had the
Emma
dress
Emma
shop
Evans.
on the side. 'cause
Emma
I used to
Evans.
take my grandmother there.
Mhm.
Yeah, Emma had it upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
The movies was a good deal back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
15 cents.
Okay.
If you had 15 cents, you could go to the movies, get 2 big pretzels, and on the way past Russell's, you get a double dip ice cream for a nickel. So that was your 15 cents. It was a good deal if you could find the 15 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. That's the lowest I ever remember was 8 cents. But
I don't remember the price.
Shirley worked there selling tickets.
The Windsor that's on the corner, is that pretty much the way it was when you were younger?
Yeah,
Did it
there were
have the-
trees in the
Did it
backyard.
have the third floor on it when you were
Yeah,
young?
Yeah.
didn't that burn?
It burnt,
Yeah.
but I didn't know when, and so you'd remember when it had the third floor.
I think I remember it being on there.
Do you remember when it was the Blue Moon restaurant or
No,
diner? Or
I
restaurant?
don't.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Bellis's, the people by the name of Bellis had it. The Windsor. I don't know if it was called the Windsor at that time.
There's pictures of it we have. It says something Blue Moon Restaurant
Oh,
or
really?
something.
Dick Muehlheisen has some memory of
Yeah, his
because his dad was involved in the state troopers and
Yeah.
they used that as a place to live or
wasn't it his mother that designed the Windsor or is
that. I
Oh,
don't.
yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
it
know.
was. She designed the houses across the street. That's
Well,
what
I
it was.
remember
Oh.
them. Yeah.
The block, what do they call it, the block of blazes.
Well,
was that was it?
oh, the
No.
black.
No.
But
No, that
right on the corner there was a big building.
Yeah, that was a dress factory when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But before it was a dress factory, I think it was a pharmacy. and
Okay.
they had apartments upstairs. When I lived on, when I was...
Doc Finnegan was in there, dentist, when we were kids too.
Oh, okay.
But they had and one of the people that lived in there, the boy, I think he was hurt. I don't know if he was killed or just hurt with firecrackers up at, when they were shooting fireworks off up at Fowler's Field.
Field.
Oh, okay.
And he lived in that
I
building.
can't think of his name.
He lived in that
I
building.
think that was Oddfellows Hall back in the turn of the century.
Could be.
3 of my sisters at one time lived in the White Elephant
3 of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived across the street.
Do you remember anything about the old house? Like you talked about, there was no running water. You had an outhouse out the back.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My mother called it Truman because my father painted it white. So it was always known as Truman. Where's Dad in Truman? No,
We had an
Truman.
outhouse, but then they had the arbor, the grape arbor
Yeah.
going to it,
Yeah, we had one in Uniondale. Well, we moved in 3 places, I think, up there. But none of that. The first one didn't have running water or toilet. And the second one had a pump for water. But the third one actually had a bathroom in it.
I'm
So-
assuming you had a coal stove too.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
coal and
Coal
wood.
and
Coal
wood
and wood.
combination stove.
Yeah, my dad used to work a deal because
We just had wood,
With the-
coal in ours.
the guys on the D&H went through there, and we were right near the tracks. And then the slaughterhouse was just up a little way, so my father would roll up some meat package, and he'd throw it to the engineer, and the engineer would stop for it, and the fireman would throw off some.
That's Uniondale.
That's in Uniondale.
Yeah.
He'd stop and he'd throw off some coal for him. So.
Is that how they heated the house too? Was with the coal?
Mhm.
Coal furnace and
Oh,
coal
yeah.
stove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had just a heat-roller when we first moved in the house on Lincoln Avenue.
They had the big grate in the floor where the heat came up, like in where I lived in
Yeah.
Jefferson Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had it on Lincoln Avenue.
We had that on Lincoln
We
Avenue.
first
were-
went housekeeping, we had it on Lincoln Avenue.
Don Miller lives now,
Yeah,
and all had his big round one,
yeah.
and that was it. So
Didn't have
Shirley
any
had to learn
upstairs.
how to
Yeah. My
tend.
grandmother called it the register.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
register.
The
register.
register in the middle of the
Yeah.
room, and then there was a little tiny one that let heat go
Upstairs,
upstairs.
that's the only one you
That's
had
the only
upstairs.
one. There was only one. Yeah,
Yeah, we only had that too.
yeah.
We survived.
So you
Yeah.
didn't have electricity then, or did you have?
Oh yeah, we had
electricity?
electricity.
But you didn't have, any.
Yeah.
You had an outhouse and you had coal stoves and
Mhm.
stuff. Okay. Of course,
I
you
don't
had,
think we had a phone in Uniondale
you had running water, of course, by then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A couple of other questions were, you said there was 8 children in your family. You were the youngest, or no?
No, my brother Junior was the youngest, but I was the youngest girl.
You were the youngest girl, and the oldest would have been
Edgar.
Edgar.
Mhm.
And in your family,
Jim was the oldest.
Jim was the oldest.
4 boys. hmm
Okay.
Pete and Dale both had birthdays in July. Dale's is when? Saturday?
Saturday and pizza's the other Saturday.
Yeah, 2 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah.
One's 85, one's 87. And I'll be 84 in September, and Shirley will be 84 in November. So.
And you went to school here in German, I'm assuming,
Oh yes.
grade school and high school.
Mhm.
And you went to the old school when it was all the 3 buildings that were
Yeah.
there.
And you have to
At
go
that
through the
time.
hallway to get to the other.
You had to go from one hallway across. Did they have that
Tunnel?
Yeah.
tunnel down underneath, and then
Yeah,
like
underneath.
and one on top where you had
Yeah.
to walk across,
That you had to go down there to clean the erasers.
clean the erasers down the basement. Yeah, we had to do that when I was
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I used to volunteer for that all the time. I'd go down
Oh,
there,
yeah.
we'd hang them together and then put them on. We had a belt, and you put them on the belt, and it would get the chalk off the eraser.
Yeah.
And then, of course, high school. You went to the German high school over here.
52, we graduated.
Both graduated in '52.
Same class. We've been hanging around together for a while.
Were you guys classmates all through school? Grade
Yeah.
school
Yes.
and high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
From 4th grade.
Fourth grade on.
Wow.
Yeah.
He came here in
Yeah.
4th grade.
Did you guys have gardens in your backyards and
Oh.
great raised stuff and canned stuff?
Father had a tremendous one.
Yeah.
My mother
My
canned
mother
candy,
Can
and,
too.
and
Yeah.
so did Shirley's mom. Yeah.
And it was a tradition, I guess, with everybody back then. And,
Oh, everybody had
you
a
know,
yard.
trees, of course, you probably had pear trees and apple trees and grapevines and.
We
you know,
didn't have any
But I
fruit
mean,
trees.
throughout town,
Yeah,
they
all
were
throughout
all over.
town,
I remember
yeah.
even when I was a kid,
Oh, yeah, throughout
we'd
the
go out
town.
and steal grapes off the vines all the time.
Yeah.
Did you have like chickens or anything like that?
Yep.
Yes.
You didn't, but you did up there in Lincoln. They were close to the woods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could get away with it up there.
We
Flowers field, right?
Pete and I had the first garbage removal that on Lincoln Avenue. We had, I think, 7 houses we went to once a week with wagons or wheelbarrows, and we took their garbage and their ashes,
Dumped them in a strip
and we
of
took them up and back, and my father supervised how we buried them and make sure they were covered. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Did you dump old bottles and stuff back there?
Yeah.
Where to? So I can go dig them up.
What's the name that runs the on the ambulance? Lives there on
Napoli?
no. Right back of my brother Dell's
Okay.
on the next street. His backyard is it?
Oh, okay.
Oh God, I can't think of his name. Ah,
I don't know.
But right behind Dell's house,
Yeah.
where that hump is in
It-
the alleyway there?
yeah. Well, there was a dip in there, and that's what most of the time where we do.
So that hump that is
Yeah.
there was probably I'll have to dig the alleyway. I
Yeah.
think I'll get in trouble.
My father used to raise great tomatoes on that
Yeah.
in that area. Yeah. Mhm.
Did people have cows in town when you were a kid? Or, I mean, were they any
No.
farm animals? Or I know people had stables.
People
for
had
horses.
horses that rode horses.
Finch had a barn where he kept quite a few horses in.
Yeah.
George Finch. That was
On Lincoln Avenue.
where the mayor lives now.
Oh, okay.
He had a barn in the back. He had usually 6 or 7 horses.
And Charlie Battenberg had, or Floyd Battenberg
Yeah.
had horses down here.
Floyd,
I remember
Charlie.
them and Dick
Oh, he had
Miller.
them.
Dick Miller.
He had
Miller.
a barn in on Lincoln Avenue.
You know, they lived up there too. Yeah.
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 Hmm. But there were a lot of horses around after World War II. The vets came back,
Yeah.
and quite a few of them had them. And there were quite a few horses in town, and that was the big thing. The guys
Yeah.
got a horse. So.
They didn't churn butter or anything like that when you were younger. It was a generation before you probably
Yeah.
that did that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
we
we
didn't
did.
do it.
I remember doing it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My father's, he said his mom did that.
Mhm.
He remembers that well. He said,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we drank raw milk, and
Yeah.
they used to bring it down from Rippon's Corners. Sid Rippon would bring it down and deliver it in gallon
Yeah.
bottles.
was that better than the pasteurized that we have today? Better tasting or no?
It seemed like it was just as good, or maybe better.
Yeah.
It was more cream, that's for sure.
So is there farmers then that came down from up in Scott Township or Greenfield and brought down
Mr. Snyder. What's his
Snyder?
name? Taylor.
Taylor.
Mr. Taylor.
Taylor used to come from
Mr.
time.
Taylor used to come with sweet corn and
He had the
vegetables and
Great stuff.
Oh, he'd come house to house like
on streets.
like
Yeah.
Pepper used to do with the
Yeah.
donuts, huh?
He did
Her mother used to go up to the first house
on Lincoln
on
Avenue.
Rushbrook at Lincoln Avenue, because he'd come in that way and she wanted to get her
Yeah,
stuff
she wanted
first.
to get the-
She lived down by the Windsor. She'd walk up them 3 blocks to get there first. So.
Because time, you know, you would.
Yeah.
Time you got down to your place, you might not have anything.
So you had the farmer bring the milk and the produce and
Yeah.
stuff. And was there more than one, or was there just pretty much?
That's the only one that I know as far as a farmer goes.
There was another one that
I don't know any other
I
farmer.
remember the
I
old
know if
guy.
Alvin Young did that for a short time.
No, I don't know.
Didn't Alvin Young's father have a grocery store before Alvin? Because there was a Young's.
Right at the
Grocery
bottom
store.
of Powell's Hill, there was a grocery store there.
Well, Alvin had his right
Alvin
at
had
the
it
corner,
there,
but was his parents involved in a grocery store? Because there was a Young's Young's grocery store
No, I don't know
that
that one.
was prior to Alvin.
Yeah.
Way back
I
when.
never heard of that. No.
There was another one down there on Bacon Street. Was it Bacon? In Madison, by the old school.
Oh, Joe Shays?
Yeah, Joe
That was the
Shays.
Big Chief.
That was a grocery store.
That's
there.
where Howard lives now.
Okay.
That was by the right across
Right
from
from
the
the
school.
fire company.
Yeah,
right across
that
the
was a
school.
grocery
That was a
store
grocery
there.
store.
Yeah. It was. I think it was it Big Chief?
I don't know.
It might have been
I
Joe
couldn't
Shea.
tell ya.
Joe Shea ran it.
I
He
remember
lives
the
where
name Joe Shea. Yeah.
Joe Shea lives where
But I know there was one there.
Lois and Joe Fugel live now. That's
Okay.
where they live. Hmm. There's another little store there on the other side of the old Crystal building.
It was a candy store though.
And where Flynn lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was
there
just
was
a candy.
the front living room was a candy store.
Okay. Yeah. I
I
remember
think it was Hawkins
Josephine
or
and-
something.
Hawkins, yeah.
Josephine and
That's
Betty
right.
had.
Yeah,
candy stores
Josephine and
there,
Betty
remember
had
that?
one. And there
Well,
was
Hawkins
one
had one there.
There was one up on Rushbrook Street too, on the corner of Rushbrook and Lincoln. There was a store there.
Oh, yeah, the Little Duke?
No. There was a little, they called it the Little Do store on Lincoln Avenue, remember, where
Oh,
Dempsey
That was
had
Dempsey's.
it.
I don't remember that.
That was right, was it across from where Mr. Pigeon lives now?
Uh-huh.
Right across the street there. There was just a little store there. But this other one was on the corner. I think a black lives there now. Lived there, I don't know, you know.
Which one?
The one right on the corner of Lincoln and Rushbrook. Coming in.
Oh,
What
no.
was that was a
Um,
store. But I can't remember the name. Because I've been to that. I
Yeah.
remember going to that store.
And how about like Larry's Market? That wasn't a store.
The
That
hardware
till
store.
It was a hardware store when you
Yeah,
were younger.
there was
Yeah,
a hardware
yeah.
store.
And Hank Hockey ran the one across the way where the Brentals are now.
Yeah.
Hank Hockey had that.
Yeah, we have records of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Russell's Ice Cream Parlor was where the bank is, more or less.
Yeah, Shirley
I
worked
worked
there.
there
What did
one
you
summer.
guys? What did you guys do as kids, like on the weekends? Like you didn't have all the stuff that we have now.
No, there was nothing.
So when you went to
Trade
school,
comic books, play ball,
so you didn't leave.
play
You didn't
hopscotch, or
travel.
whatever girls did.
No,
You didn't do a lot of traveling. You stayed in town and pretty
no, we
much.
didn't go anywhere.
You know?
No, you didn't travel.
Yeah.
My dad wouldn't let me go from Rushbrook Street to the powder mills.
Yeah,
He wouldn't.
yeah, you would let her go to a party down there.
Yeah.
I used to go down, but I ran around with George Blake, and he lived right in that corner house.
And when the
across
whistle
from
blew
Wilson.
9, you better be on your way or home.
Yeah. Well, that happened with me too. My grandmother had a big voice.
Yeah,
No, we just played games. You know, kick the can and hide and seek and all those games, you know, or
Yeah.
that's all we did, really.
Yeah.
Roller skated on the sidewalks with their roller skates.
Yeah.
bicycles, of course, of all
Yeah.
types.
Play baseball. That's about it. We didn't
Lot of
have anything
baseball.
like they have today.
Yeah. How about dances? Did they have a lot of dances like teen?
Shirley was a
Teen Town.
dancer.
Teen Town when you were in school, but when you were younger, was there anything for kids to do? Was
I don't remember.
No.
I didn't go to anything.
Only in high school, that's when they started get
They had the
square dances, and
dances.
stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, or Teen Town.
and Sunday was a family day. I mean, it
Yeah, you
always
didn't
was.
do much on a Sunday. If somebody had a car in the family, we'd go for a ride.
Yeah.
Maybe get an ice cream cone.
Yeah, that's
Occasionally.
what I
What we did, my mother made us do was walk to the cemetery,
Okay.
take the wagon with the flowers and whatever.
Memorial Day.
and-
What cemetery would that be?
In German.
German.
There was one
And
down.
we
down
walked to the cemetery. And of course we used to pick blueberries and then go door to door selling them,
here,
which I
selling
hated.
blueberries. Yeah.
But anyway, we did that.
But Sunday was a church day and a
Yeah.
family day. It was pretty much same as when I grew up. I
Yeah.
mean, we went to church on Sunday and
We didn't
And
do
the
much else.
afternoon
Visit
you might have went for a ride
I think
to
it
get
was
ice
more of
cream.
a day to visit relatives.
I don't think
You know?
the movies was even open on Sunday.
I don't
was it?
think it was.
Probably wasn't much
I
of
don't
anything
think
open
so.
on Sunday.
No.
Boulevards,
There was
right.
nothing
Okay.
on Sunday.
No.
And you guys both went to this church as most of your life when
No.
when you lived in town? Or?
No, I didn't go there till I married Gail.
Oh, okay.
She was a Baptist.
I was a
over-
Baptist in that little Baptist
Mhm.
church on
On
Madison.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I went to church till I married Gail.
Do you remember the pastor's name when you were there?
Yeah, I do remember, but I can't remember.
R.
I can't
Begin
think
with
of
an
his
R.
name. No,
Robin.
we had a few, you know, growing up, but my family always went there.
They have a choir there. And,
Yes, we did, and we had Sunday school,
Mhm.
and I was baptized in the thing behind the
In the
altar in the tub. I
dipped
was
in the
immersed
tub,
in
tub. Mhm.
that
Yeah.
when I was old enough to accept the Lord.
Mhm.
Yeah, you went-
Another friend of mine, Joni Farr,
Okay.
and she knew I hate water, and she knew I was afraid of water, and so when they put you in, they put the cloth on your mouth and they dunk you, and when they did, she screamed for me. Because she knew I was afraid.
Yeah.
I hate water.
Yeah. And you went to this church as a
Yeah.
kid, and well, when you were in Uniondale.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
there a church in Uniondale, Methodist church?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pie's 15 cents a slice.
You remember
Food, I remember
You
food. You
remember
know.
food?
Yeah, they used to do it once a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were married here. It'll be 63 years in September.
In this church here?
Mm-hmm.
How about holidays, special holidays? What did you guys do, like on Christmas, Easter, your birthdays?
Mhm.
Did you have big parties?
Just family parties.
Big family
At
parties
home.
and relatives?
Never in restaurants or anything, just at
How
home.
about 4th of July celebrations?
At
Was
home.
there any in
It's
town?
in family.
Just
We
family?
went to her sister's most of the
I
time.
think they did some in Fowlersville,
You remember
fireworks
fireworks up
We
there.
shot at Lake Idlewild too.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
when that was.
we
I
didn't do
remember
it
going
in
up there
town.
with
We
you.
didn't do it in
Yeah.
town.
Was there a lot of restaurants back then in town, like there are now?
Well, there were a lot of dress factories
Yeah.
Restaurant?
and beer
Uh,
gardens,
Well, there are a lot of beer
There-
gardens.
yeah.
but I don't think there were that many
Me-
restaurants. I
Me
don't
and
know.
had one. Jim Meehan were
Jimmy
And Snyder had one,
yeah.
where the Waynes is now, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and,
Where
and
Wayne's-
George
Snyder's was where Wayne's is, yeah.
Yeah.
and George, what was his name? Had one there with the Masonic lodges. Westingtons were in there, and they had it, and then George took it.
Oh, gosh, I
Uh,
can't think of his last
Jill
name.
Stones.
Oh,
Would be her grandfather, right?
Yeah, what was George's last name?
Williams?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Williams.
he could hit a ball a ton.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah.
And I
No.
think
That would have been Terry Williams'
Matichak's had
grandfather?
a restaurant too, didn't they?
Who?
Matichak's had a restaurant.
Yeah, they had a little one there where.
That's on this side of Washington Avenue,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Up on,
Well, he wasn't there
And
with
there was
Wayne's.
up on
at-
Rushbrook at one time too?
I don't
No,
know if there
no,
was any restaurants up there.
no.
Only La Rosa store, you know.
The Rosa
Yeah,
store was on the
Rosa's
other
there.
On the
side.
other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where,
But the
yeah.
Matichak's were right here by where the empty lot is now. Wasn't it right there? And there was a dry cleaner there at one time.
Empty lot.
Across from the post office stuff?
No, up by where his father had the gas station. On that big building that was there, I told you.
It's on the left side.
on the
You're
left,
talking.
on
Yeah.
the left side.
They had
going up.
about 5 stools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there was a dry
And then-
cleaner in
and,
there. Eleanor Thomas worked in that dry cleaner.
Yeah. She had
For a long time.
Tyrone
Tyrone or Tyrone.
Tyrone.
Or whatever. You know,
She's the one that started the Christmas lights.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
she worked in a.
But
there was a dry cleaner there in that little spot.
in the other side there was a lawyer's office, and you know who the lawyers were? Mundley's.
Monday, huh?
Jim, the judge,
Yeah.
and his brother. That's where they started. They
Oh,
opened
okay.
the lawyers.
Started in Germany.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mrs.
Farrell,
Farrell had
yeah.
her music
Did the music place
across
on,
the street
on the
there.
corner, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember going down there for, she'd had that pitch pipe and you'd have to
Oh,
go
yeah.
down there for music
Yeah.
lessons. And,
Jim Meehan was in Danny's,
barbershop?
no, on this side, by the house.
Oh, okay.
That little, on the left side of his house, you can see it comes out a little.
Yeah.
That was the restaurant. Before he
Okay.
came there, he was up to almost to next to Staples' house.
Yeah.
There's Battenberg's and then Staples' house, and in that
In
next
between.
building, he was in there. And they tell me, I don't really recall it. He started almost up by the where the Mobile gas station was, across from the Windsor.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, but I don't remember that. I remember the two places.
I know my grandmother talked about me and they would call the house every time there was an argument about baseball. And my father would have to run down to give
Jim
them the
Meehan and
answer,
get it verified.
to give
Yeah.
them the answer on baseball.
Yeah. I used to, I worked at my uncle Tom Williams, married my aunt Lindy, my mother's sister, and he had a hardware store right where the post office is.
Okay.
And I worked for him, one of my first
That
paying
had
jobs.
a gas pump in front, didn't it?
Yes, but yeah, I used to go down to Meehan's and he'd save the ketchup bottles. And I'd have to get down and get them, bring them up and scrub them nice and clean, and let them dry for about a week. And then I'd get a container of kerosene or turpentine and fill them up. And they didn't have a twist cap, they had a one you could pounce on, and he had a big thick rubber mat.
Wow.
And I'd take a wooden mallet, or a rubber mallet, and bump, put them back on, take a piece of paper, write 15 cents, and scotch tape it around the bottles and put them on the shelf.
Wow.
They were ketchup bottles he
Yeah.
reused, yeah.
Sold as turpentine.
And I did the same thing with kerosene. He'd get gallon bottles from all the bars, because they used to wine then.
Yeah.
And he'd wash them out, and I'd have to go out, and she had a shed in the back, and I remember cranking the pump and filling them up. And I got in trouble because on the bottle it said 1 gallon, and I filled it up to the neck. Oh, I was told, no,
Too
it
much.
says 1 gallon right there. Yeah, yeah.
Too much.
But they sold a lot of kerosene then, because a lot of the stoves had coal or kerosene.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people from Chapman Lake and probably up Newton Lake would come for kerosene.
Yeah.
And that's where we got the first fireworks too. For us kids, it was carbide.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then everybody had carbide light. That's the best light to use for picking worms. And,
Yeah.
you know, because it's not a dull light.
Yeah.
But you could put it in a bottle and pour a little water in and put the top on. And depending how willing you were to make a hand grenade, not going off in your hand, you could throw it and it would go pow, you know. So, yeah.
That's enough.
You remember? Like, I know you talked about Fowler's Field. Was that the only field in town, like for playing baseball and stuff? Was Crawford's Field in existence back when you were a
Yeah.
kid?
Oh yeah. Yeah. When we went to high school, we took Jim over there.
That's what
In
I
the
did.
summertime.
Was there grass or anything there? Because when I was there, it was mostly rock.
Yeah, dirt and rock.
There was a little bit of grass in the
Yeah.
outfield, but not
Fowler's
much.
Field was very similar.
Yeah.
There's houses right where it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Fowler's Field was bigger, but it wasn't any better to play on.
Yeah. They didn't really strip mine it till later on, right? When you were a kid.
Yeah, I could never get over that. They'd come in and
Hmm.
somebody wanted some mine under, they'd come in and stripped it. That was, my dad told me that was the second time they'd been in there.
Huh.
But Shirley, she caught softball and she caught up there.
Yeah.
in the softball league. Yeah.
I wouldn't play in Fowlersfield though.
Was there a girls softball league? Yeah.
They had a few.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, she played in German in Mayfield.
I would play in Mayfield, but not in German, because I don't like the boys on Lincoln Avenue. They were rough. So I wouldn't play when my dad went up
Yeah.
to watch the game, and the guy standing next to him said, "Where's that little catcher that they had?" My dad didn't say anything because he knew I didn't want to go there.
She wouldn't play though in German. So. Yeah.
How about picnic groves? I know there was one up in behind Crawford's Field. Wasn't there a picnic grove back
We used to
in
go to the
there?
bandstand all the time here on Main Street
That was down
by Leona's. And,
where across from the Millers 5 and Dime.
yeah, that was called the bandstand. They had picnics there, you know. And
How big was that? I mean, was that a pretty big sized area?
No, it was a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. It was, and the
I don't know if
stand
it's
was
50 by 175.
the big stand was down in the back of the,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't think you have good pictures of that bandstand,
No, I
do
don't.
you?
I don't know if
I
any.
have a picture of it, but I have
That's-
Leona, my sister-in-law, was holding a baby out in the front of it, but you could see it in the background.
But it's not very good
No,
shot
it's
of
not
it.
a real good shot. But
Oh,
you
we'd
could-
love
That's where Crystals used to have their.
If you ever get your pictures together, bring them down. We'll take a picture of them, and then we
Yeah.
can put them in a book here, and you can have the pictures back. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Gail has a picture of him pumping gas at the gas station.
Oh, that'd be cool.
yeah, so stuff like that. Even your family pictures. I mean, if you want,
Yeah.
if you have anything that you want to preserve for your future generations,
Mhm.
we have books in here of people in German,
Uh,
and then we can
yeah.
add the families all
Yeah.
together and
Yeah.
put it together.
Yeah, a guy from Mayfield who worked at Daystrom at the time, and he'd come in and he opened his trunk. I was putting gas in the car. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to take your picture tonight, Gail." And he took a nice picture and he put in gas, and I think it's a
Was that the kind where he had to stick his head in the thing and take the pictures of
no,
that old? or-
no,
Oh, the real
49.
camera?
I think it was a 49 or a 50 Chevy.
Oh, okay.
Paul, can't think of his last name right now,
I
but
don't know.
yeah, he's the guy that's a nice shot too. Come out good. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any big disasters in town other than the flood that I remember?
Yeah.
I mean, were you around? You were here in the '55 flood probably, and maybe 40. There was one in the '40s.
Yeah, I wasn't around then.
I don't remember that
Yeah,
one. I
Shirley was
just
the
heard
one
them
that lived
talking.
there, but
I
we don't
just heard them
remember
talking about it, but when
When one of the land
We could
somebody
watch
that
the-
washed away up there by
the
Langdon.
creek, you know,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Sam Wosley and someone else. My dad used to
A
tell me who
lineman
it
guy,
was.
wasn't it a lineman?
Langman.
Langman and
Langman,
Wosley,
yeah.
maybe something like
How
that.
about
Yeah,
that?
Langman was one.
How about big blizzards, or was there any storms like tornadoes or hurricanes?
No, we never
or anything
had-
like that? 'Cause
Never
I
heard
don't
tell
ever
of
remember.
tornadoes or hurricanes, but we did
Snow.
have bad winters.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to walk the snow piles to school.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid coming out and the piles would be so high you were up looking into a second story windows and
Oh,
houses
yeah.
on top of the snow piles.
Yeah.
So they didn't cancel school for a snow day like that?
No,
No,
we
everybody
walked.
We walked.
Everybody walked to school.
And we went home for lunch.
Yeah.
You walked home to lunch too,
Mm-hmm.
because you couldn't stay at the school. They had no one there to for you to stay.
How about like swimming? Did you? I know you couldn't go in the river because it was so bad, but did you? Was
Well, I
Chapman
didn't go
Lake?
by the water.
Chapman
I
Lake.
think you wouldn't go.
Everybody
Everybody
hitchhiked.
went hitchhiked to Chapman Lake.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they did.
And if you were the last one, get late in the day to get a ride up, Lou Cure would come by, and you didn't want to stand hanging on in the back on his side, because he'd go along with a
Spit
chew. Always had a chew in, so you'd make sure you're on the other side of the truck whenever. But he'd only take you up to Rupin's Corner, and then you had to
You
walk
had to
over.
walk across the other
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about amusement parks? Were there any at all? I mean, was the one at Newton Lake there?
Newton Lake. Yep.
That was the only one
Yeah,
around.
they have dances at Newton Lake
Yeah,
too.
they had a dance hall there.
Yeah.
They
Did
had a
they
roller
have?
coaster too, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a good roller coaster.
Really?
Yeah, a wooden one. No,
Yeah.
wooden one. It was good though.
Didn't
Yeah,
somebody die on that? They fell off it?
That I couldn't
I think
say.
I found an article in the paper that they did.
Yeah. I never.
They had a whip, and I know that's the last
I remember
time.
the whip when I was a
First
kid.
time I
There you
ever
go,
rode
mini
one,
legs.
it was the last time. Give me a, oh boy, give me a roller coaster anytime. So,
Not me.
no, so.
So you, well, how about teachers? Do you remember any of their teachers in grade school? And I mean, I remember Dynamite Dunn and Miss Muldoon and
We had Miss Mulhern.
and Farrell, but I don't.
Yeah.
And
Miss Mulhern.
we had Kenny Osleo. He just died.
We had
High
him in
school.
high school.
In high
High
school. He
school,
just
yeah.
died this year in Scranton.
Hmm.
He
And
had to be up there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was in his 90s. Who else did we have? Where we rented the house, I can't think of. Bobby Evans's
Oh, Martin.
Martin.
There were two
Oh,
Martin.
There were
remember
two Martins.
One Martin was
Mildred Martin and Mary Martin.
Mildred Martin, and Mary Martin was Jack
And Mrs.
Lynn's
Allen,
family.
We had
Was Tom Evans there?
Oh,
He was-
Tom
Evans,
was
yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Truscott, was Truscott there?
oh yeah,
He was the principal, wasn't
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we had Mrs. Allen,
Yeah.
but we had
Latin teacher. She'd fall asleep. It was great.
and Mr. Hogarth,
he? Oh, John R.
John
Yeah.
R. We had,
Oh, yeah.
and
You acted up with him, and he said, "I'll beat you to the
McDermott from
door."
over the lane. We had the McDermott from over the lane, and
Yeah.
Eleanor Colley.
Burp, Collie. Yep. Oh,
We,
burp.
Burp.
we had,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cameo straightened me
And of
out.
course, it's Ann Alice Thomas.
Yeah.
We had her for a teacher.
Mhm. She used to pick on Shirley all the time because we were kind of sweet in each other, you know. So
Yeah.
Alice didn't think that was right, I guess.
How about
Cameo Leo straightened me out.
were the trolleys done running when you were kids?
Oh yeah, we didn't have any.
The tracks were still
Tracks
on.
were still on Main Street, but the
Well, I
trolleys were
remember
on.
them.
So you didn't really get to travel to City of Scranton or Carbondale too often.
Only on the bus if you
Only.
were lucky.
Yeah.
How much was it for a bus ride?
I don't remember, but my mother had a sister in Carbondale, on the top of Canaan Street, and we used to go. That was a big thing to ride the bus to Carbondale,
Mhm.
and then we'd get off and walk all the way up the top of Canaan Street.
That's a
Be-
hike.
Hill,
Before you went up, there was an ice cream, Russell's ice cream store there,
Okay.
and my mother we'd always go in and have our ice cream, and then go up the hill to my aunt's house. We only rode the bus, or whoever had a car.
Were there
you
big
know.
stores in Carbondale then, like the
Woolworths
they
Yeah.
started around here. J.C. Penney's.
Yeah,
Somebody said there was a J.C. Penney.
yeah,
in
there was.
Carbondale.
Right on the main street there.
Yeah,
I think Don Miller's mother worked in
I think she did.
the J.C. Penney, I believe.
When we went to.
And the Globe store was in Carbondale.
Yeah.
The Globe was in Carbondale.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right
Corner of Main and
down- I don't just remember.
8th and 6th Park.
It's Park.
Park,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where McDonald's restaurant is, or on the other side.
On
On the other side, right on the
Where the
corner.
empty lot where the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
The Globe store was there.
And they had,
Reynolds was there. There were
yeah, Reynolds was up on Lincoln.
no, it wasn't on Lincoln, was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
That was on Church Street. No, but maybe it wasn't.
How about Neok Park? Was that ever there when you were a kid?
Yeah, we went to
Yeah.
Nayad Park
get every once in a while
to
get-
go
Yeah,
down
we
there.
took our kids there.
Did you have reunions there?
Yeah,
My
We had our
family,
family
my
reunion.
family did on my mother's
we
side
didn't have any.
because she had a lot of relations in Avoca down in that area.
Uh-huh.
In fact, some of them they came with my grandfather. Some of them went there, and some would come up here. It was work thing, I think.
Did kids from town work on the farms up in the country? Baling hay and stuff like
Yeah.
that in the summertime?
Some did that.
Yeah.
I just pumped gas.
How about cars? Do you remember your first car?
Yeah.
I didn't have a car.
1931.
Still don't drive.
I drive.
1931 Model
You drive
B.
now? Yeah.
1931 Model B coupe.
Model B coupe.
Wow.
Mhm.
Don't you wish you had that today?
I paid $40 for it, and I couldn't get a license because I didn't have insurance, and my dad wouldn't let me put a license on it. I had no money for insurance, and I came home. I only had it about a month, and I came home and the car was gone.
Yeah.
And my dad said, "Well, I made you some money." He said, "The car is gone." He gave me $75, and I had paid 40, so I
You
made
made
35 bucks.
And back then, $35 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wasn't enough. Oh man.
You were mad.
Oh, dear. Mr. Cole, who owned the building where our gas
Oh, yeah.
station was,
He
he had a 1928 Chrysler. It had the canvas roof. It was a green body with black fenders, and he'd bring it out in the summertime, and he'd ask me to wash it, and I washed it with kerosene.
Wow.
That's what I washed it with.
keep it from rusting.
And man, would that shine!
It didn't hurt to paint?
No, kerosene
no.
is actually
And-
good for, yeah,
And
it's like an oil.
a few hours later, before he went to put it back in, you should see the dust on
Dust.
it.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the problem,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was nice and shiny, but it had collected a lot of
How
dust.
about you? Did you have your own car when you were, after you got out of high school? No.
Yeah, I did learn to drive before we were married.
Of course, everything was standard then.
My brother-in-law
Yeah.
taught me how to drive because my brother was in the hospital at the time. My brother Billy was in a bad car accident, and he was in the hospital for a long time up at St. Joe's, and everybody got tired of going on the bus and walking up, so they taught me how to drive so I could take
You could
everybody, you know. So I did learn to drive, but I never had a car of my own.
Were there a lot of hot rods?
My dad never had a car.
Guys that you hung around with, soup up cars?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Mostly dirt roads, or did they have brick on them, or paved, or?
they were paved.
They were paved. I can remember them paving it when they took the trolley tracks up and paving,
Yeah.
because I saw the bricks. And,
Yeah.
but it was paved.
But once I
Yeah,
drove the
my
car
brother was
without my license.
he was a hot rod.
Pete?
Huh?
I said I drove the car without my license once
Oh,
and
yeah,
almost
she
got
did.
caught.
Yeah, I almost got caught.
Up in Waymart. My sister lived in Waymart.
How much was gasoline back then?
He would know that.
Well, it was most of the time it was around 24.9.
Hmm.
But when you get into a gas war, down it went.
Hmm.
And we were always in competition with Bednash, Mark's father.
Yeah.
And the lowest I ever pumped it was 10.9
Wow.
a gallon.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Oh, no.
Oh dear, dear.
Well, I remember as a kid, like 4 or 5 of us pitching in 50 cents and riding around with John Esgro in a
Yeah.
55 Chevy, and we go all week on the money that we put in. The gas. I mean, gas back then was probably, I don't know, 50 cents a gallon, or
Yeah.
60 cents a gallon, or 80 cents a gallon, maybe.
My dad never had a car, so.
Donnie Edwards worked at next to our gas station, the Mobile. It was right across from the window.
Yeah.
And he made up a container to hold gas. And we were always arguing what gas got the best mileage, Sunoco, that's what we had, or Mobile. So he made this container and rigged it up by to drip the gas into the carburetor, and no pump, just a gravity flow. And we'd put a gallon of gas in and drive the car until it ran out, and then we had to go and bring it back or put gas in to get it back.
Yeah.
But then you'd put in the other gas, and we were trying to prove which one got better gas mileage. So
Which one did?
that's something I don't remember. I think it was a standoff that you didn't really earn the bragging rights because it was only a very short distance. But yeah,
Do you remember your parents' cars, like what they had before you? Remember?
My dad didn't have any. We didn't
The
have any.
old cars? No.
My dad had the 34 Chevy, 35 Ford. That's what we used to use when we were dating in high school. Yeah. And
Did you guys have a prom? And did you,
Oh,
did
yeah.
you go?
oh yeah, yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
What was that like? It was a band
At
playing
the
there?
school.
Oh yeah, I had a band.
Really?
A band, a real band. Yeah.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
we went one year with Joe Daniel and who'd he date?
Bachok Girl.
Oh yeah, Dolores Bachel
And Alice and George.
and
Couture.
Alice and George Couture. And we went out and George had a 1937 Packard, and that was a
That's a
big
nice car,
machine
yeah.
then.
Who was the prom couple or the prom queen or whatever they had? Who was
I
it?
don't remember who ours was. Do
It
you?
wasn't us.
No. I don't know. Maybe it was Jane Seymour and John Jabinski. I don't know.
It could
Spitter?
have could have
Spitter
been.
Jaminsky?
No.
Huh?
Spitter
No.
Jaminsky?
No, his
John.
brother
Oh, okay.
John. It could have been John or it could have been George.
George and Alice, maybe.
Not George and Alice.
No,
No, they
we
weren't in
never.
our class.
No.
I don't remember.
Was there any rich people in town when you that had fancy cars and big, houses and back when you were younger? I mean, you remember?
I don't remember
the
that.
German
I guess we didn't
family.
pay attention.
The German family was all around by then. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were people you knew they had it, but it wasn't flashed.
yeah,
You know,
there was no big fancy cars like
No.
I went to clean Leo Moskowitz's windows at the gas station one time, and I cleaned the front ones, and I went to clean the side one, but we used water with
Yeah.
a little ammonia in it. Well, I shouldn't have done it. The window was down. I got Leo pretty. oh, terrible. So yeah,
That's about the only ones.
yeah.
I don't remember.
How about when television first came out?
We didn't have it.
No, we didn't either.
When did you first get it? Do you remember your first TV set?
But
What, us? Ours?
a year after we were married, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
How many stations were there? Just one or two?
I think there were a couple stations.
There,
Wasn't there?
there were three, I
Oh,
think,
were there? Oh, I don't
or
know.
two at least.
In black and white, right? Black and
They're
white.
all-
Black and white, and the one was from Binghamton.
Binghamton. Channel, there
And,
was 28,
And
22 maybe?
22, and then 12 was Binghamton. And you
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
turn the
That's
knob
about
to
it.
Oh,
VHF.
yeah, no
Yeah.
clickers.
With the
Yeah.
rabbit ears.
Yeah.
They had the rabbit ears on top of the TV, and you couldn't get the Binghamton station only at certain times of the day because there would be.
it was terrible.
I used to listen to the radio with my dad, to all them, like Inter Sanctum and the
Yeah, what
Green
kind of shows were on the
Hornet,
radio then?
The Green Hornet and
All that
And
stuff.
they're saying
Yeah,
from-
baseball. There was baseball,
baseball.
on the
My dad
Yeah.
loved the base. You
radio.
know,
I remember my
he'd sit-
grandfather. That's all he did was
Just
sit
sat there and
He sat in the
listened.
chair with the. He had
I
that
remember.
stand-up light
Yeah.
behind him, and he'd read, and then he'd turn
Yeah.
on a baseball game and listen
Baseball.
to that.
That's all that was on.
Pappy was always boxing, boxing.
Yeah,
My grandpa,
yeah.
Pappy.
Yeah.
He had
That's what we had, but we didn't
he
have
had
a TV.
he had ducks, and they used to tar the roads every summer, and no paving. They just tar them and block them off for a couple of days, and then you drive on them
Yeah.
again. But there was a pool of tar ran off, and he went out and he used to go out on his back porch and he'd holler the ducks, "Here, ducks, ducks!" And the ducks had come from down the bottom most of the time. Well, the ducks didn't show up. And he hollered, "Olive, Olive!" You know, it was his daughter,
Yeah.
and she lived with him. But there's no ducks, so they went looking. The ducks were out front, and they found a puddle, tar. There's
Covered-
these white ducks with
covered-
tar, and I can see them going through with the scissors, cutting the. They're the ugliest looking ducks you ever saw,
No
but
feathers.
they saved them. You know. Oh dear. Yeah, that was your paved
When you
road.
guys got married, did you go on a honeymoon anywhere?
Oh yeah.
Where'd
Yeah.
you go?
And we went to Niagara Falls in Canada.
Oh.
You drove in a car? How did you get
Yeah.
there?
Yes.
1953 Ford.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You
Did you
had
have
a
a
new
lot
car.
of flat tires back then?
New
or
car,
A
huh?
lot of breakdowns in the cars back then or no?
No, the new
No,
car.
I think cars had a lot of flats, but we didn't have any problem. But
No, we didn't. We went.
we used to fix a flat was 50 cents, and that's taking it off the car, taking the tube out, putting a hot patch on it, putting it back together, and put it back in the car.
Yeah.
50 cents. Now it costs you about $5 at least for him to take it off and
Yeah.
put a slug in it.
Did you guys rent after you got married, or
Yes.
did you?
Yeah, on Lincoln Avenue where Don Miller lives,
Okay.
we rented half the house there.
And you
Could
guys, did you guys both work?
No,
Yeah.
Shirley didn't work.
I did work when we first got married.
Oh yeah, when you first got married.
in the dress
yeah.
factory over here.
Once you
by
had
the
kids, you
church.
didn't.
The dress factory over here.
And you worked up there all the time up in Montrose?
No, I worked at Dearborn for about 5
The
years,
glass company.
and I delivered coal for a couple of years when I was laid off. I used to work for Staples.
When you worked over at Dearborn, was that real gold they put in the glass? I heard stories that was real gold leaf.
They didn't do that kind of stuff when I worked there.
No.
All they made was faceplates for television
Oh,
when I worked there.
that's what they did. My
So,
grandfather
yeah.
worked there.
Yeah, no, that came on later after I had left there. I worked about 5 years.
Yeah,
I
I
guess
have some
worked
of
there.
those things from.
Yeah,
Dearborn.
we have some here. They're in the
Yeah.
case back there.
Yeah, I have one on my kitchen table right now.
I was told that it was real gold leaf and that they put it through the
Oh.
glass. And I said, if that's the case, I gotta melt all these things I got and take the gold. Well, I know you talked about the military and how you wanted to go in the military but couldn't. I don't know if you want
Right.
to relate that story to us.
Oh well, we were going to get married, and the scheme was that I was going to up my draft, so I did, and we figured when I came home from basic training, we'd get married. So I went with Paul Davitt, and Kenny Arnold used to come to the gas station a lot. And he heard we were going. He went up and upped his draft, and 3 of us went down. And there was a bus strike that time, so we went by car from Carbondale down to Wilkesboro. Well, they passed us all, and we came back for about a month, 3 weeks, and then we had to go. So we left and went goodbye, and well, we got down there, and they pulled Paul Davitt out of the line and flunked him. They pulled me out of the line and flunked me. So that was it. We got a ride back, and the guy dropped Paul and I off up on 6, and we come down over the railing
Kenny
down.
went by himself.
Yeah, he went, and he had just secretly got married.
Oh.
Yeah.
And poor
Yeah,
Kenny, was by himself.
Kenny, he said he shipped after basic. He shipped to Germany, and he said, "I hated you so much all the time I was in Germany." He said, "You made me do this," you know. Oh.
Gail tried to get them to take
I
him.
came back, and we come down over and in the backyard, and my dad looked at me and said, "Huh, what happened?" Told him, "Well, I was wondering who was going to close up tonight," and he handed me the keys to the gas station. Meanwhile, I'm down there pumping gas, and you can tell him what your dad.
My dad and I were sitting on the front porch, you know, because we lived there by the gas. And I said to him, "That looks like Gail down there." And he said, "No," he said, "that's not Gail. He's gone, you know." And I said, "Well, it certainly does look like Gail down there." And it was. He was down there pumping gas.
Yeah.
He had come back.
Yeah.
So, and we got married like we had planned in September then.
Yeah, yeah. So I always said that I may be 4F in the army, but I'm 1A in your heart. Let's get married. So we did. so that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Who was your best man and bridesmaid?
His brothers.
My brothers.
Are they still alive?
No,
Two of his brothers
are.
two are, but my oldest brother, he's dead. Died in 1992.
And I have my sister, but she's gone now, Lucille, and 2 of my friends that I worked with in the factory, 2 girls, and they're both gone now.
Did you have a big reception? A lot of people there at the wedding?
No, we had it
Yeah,
in the church basement.
Oh.
In the church
We had
basement.
a turkey
Common.
dinner in the
Yeah.
church basement. We didn't have any music or
Yeah.
beer or anything like that. We just had everything in the and then we went back to my house, my mother's
Yeah.
after.
Did you have close friends that you pretty much stayed close to from grade school
Yeah.
all the way up through.
Yeah.
We had a couple of them. I think Elwood Nicholson was the closest.
Wow. How many classmates are still around?
Pardon?
How many of your classmates are still alive?
Gee, I don't know. There might be about maybe 7. There weren't many of us.
You don't have any more reunions?
No,
No.
we haven't had a reunion. We had 2 reunions. That's about it.
Yeah.
Most everyone
Yeah.
is gone.
Elwood Nicholson was one of our better
Was
best
one of Gail's
friends.
best friends.
But he got killed
Hmm.
about 2 years after we were married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his niece is in your group.
What's her name? That was supposed to be here tonight.
Alice.
Alice.
Yeah.
Alice.
Was,
Yeah, that was her
Elwood
uncle.
was Gail's bet. In fact,
Yeah.
Gail
Really? Wow.
might have been with them and been gone
Yeah, I used to
He used
ride
to
out
ride
with
with
him
them
sometimes.
on the
and
truck. But
that night I was
That
at
night
the station. I didn't go, but he got killed up in Nicholson area.
Car accident?
Two
He-
trucks together.
Wow.
Yeah.
so that's a long time.
And Jimmy Spicer, he didn't graduate with us, but he was in the same class. But I think he went military, did he?
I think so.
Yeah. But he got killed in Florida in a truck accident too, so kind of weird.
Has German changed a lot? Growing up in it, like through the years?
I don't think it's changed that. Only thing that changed was now you have to lock your doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are different.
And you don't know.
Town
You
itself
don't know
is-
half the people. You know, as we're getting older.
Really?
I used to close the gas station. I'd walk around town. I had the money with me.
Yeah.
Never
You were
never worried about
Never afraid.
stop and see
Really?
Shirley and
Yeah.
yeah.
We were never afraid.
What kind of crimes were there back then? Did you remember anything? Break-ins?
Hoodlums. That's what I used to call them.
Just
Hoodlums.
kids, you know.
They were just
Kid
Mickey
kids,
Mouse stuff.
silly,
Nothing
you know.
serious.
Nothing serious.
Yeah, we used to have the hobos, you know, that used to come
There are
through
a couple
town
guys that-
on the trains, you know, how
On the
they
train,
would
you
get
had
off
elbows, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
and they'd come through.
What
Uncle
would they-
Wally used to tell me they go through Mayfield and
Yeah.
they knew they'd put a sign on the house that was okay, this is a good one to get a meal or don't go there, either way, whatever they used.
Yeah, it
You
was,
remember your parents ever talking about like guys hunting and wild animals and stuff that used to be here that are no longer around or anything like that, or
Now,
No.
the majority of deer hunting wasn't done in this area. They go to Pike County. Pike
Yeah.
County was big,
Hmm.
and there were a lot of hunting clubs.
yeah,
I know my dad and my uncles were all in them, and I had an Uncle Bob in Pike County, and they used to ship from the hunting camp to Bob's because they didn't have dues and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know, so they go to Bob's.
Did you ever go up by the Hosey when you were young and through Edgerton? And if you did, was
No.
there a lot more foundations? Oh, you
No.
weren't? Really?
Strictly this mountain. We spent a lot of time on this one and the next one over.
yeah.
There was a fire tower, abandoned fire tower over in that one.
Is that called Carey Mountain?
Yeah. Carrie and I think Monroe. Is it? Yeah.
This was Carey Mountain up here.
Is that where the tower was on Carey Mountain?
The second one over.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's Carrie.
Hmm.
I used to know them.
was there a picnic grove up over the mountain? Do you remember that? Because I remember people talking about they used to walk over the mountain to
on Route
something-
6.
up over this mountain to a place up in Scott Township.
Oh, in Scott Township. No.
No,
that
yeah.
had
There used to be a
before that.
field up there they called Chesterfields. wasn't
That
it?
was over here by where Bob and Al's.
Bob and Al.
Garage.
Garage up
Yeah,
top.
Yeah.
across.
Well, just past that and up in the woods there was a Chesterfield field they
they
called
called
it.
it,
Oh,
and they
okay.
used to have different things up there. You know, those medicine
that's
men
where
that
it
came
was.
through
Yeah.
town
You
and
have
all
to-
that
yeah.
stuff.
You have
They
to
used
walk up, of course.
You had to
Yeah.
walk. Everything was walking.
I think that's where Ray Bell painted that picture from up by there.
Did they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's Ray Bell's father.
Okay.
He painted that picture of German from up on that hill,
Yeah.
looking
Okay.
down.
I know it was up there because I
I know
I
my-
went there once.
My uncle Walter told me that he lived on in Mayfield, but there was nothing looking toward German, and in the back of his house, up to Route 6, there was nothing but fields and trees.
Hmm.
And they'd have their cattle and their cows and stuff up in there.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that.
Zashansky's field down here. Remember that one?
It's
Zashansky's
by
field?
the Artesian Fire Company.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it? I never
I didn't
heard
know
you
what it
call
was
that.
called.
They used to
Okay.
take the
But it would
cows.
make sense. Yashansky's lived there.
Yeah, they live there now. Yeah, they used to take the cows there from
My father
over
did,
the
yeah.
lane. They used to take them there. We had somebody tell us that at the last meeting, wasn't it?
My father took his cow down there.
Yeah.
I was a little kid.
Well, you could see the grass and everything in that
Yeah.
picture up on the hill. Like
Yeah.
there was nothing
Yeah.
up there, and
No,
that's
there was nothing up there.
Mhm.
and that's. I think there's a postcard somewhere of German that's like that, and it has a picture. And then-
Beautiful picture.
yeah,
It is. Yeah, it's a nice drawing.
yeah. That was Ray Bell's, and this one was Ray. This is that colliery that was up here in Mayfield.
Oh, Erie?
I don't know what it was. I think it crossed across Main Street
Mhm.
over the river and came out by Main
Oh,
Street.
I think
up.
that was Erie. I used to call coal out of Erie.
This is the one that
But
was
that-
up here, right where Rob's gas station is now,
Oh,
and it went across the river that way.
What gas?
Where TNR is.
TNR.
Oh,
That's where that.
oh, okay. No, Erie was up further in
yeah,
Mayfield.
this is the not the Raymond. What was?
Raymond Collar?
Oh, what is the name of it? I believe it's probably.
It's probably written underneath it.
Glenwood.
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 Oh,
College.
Glenwood. Yeah, I've heard of
Mayfield
it.
was called Glenwood.
Yeah.
I
Glenwood,
remember it being there, but I don't remember anything
I don't
about it.
remember.
Yeah, that's the Lackawanna River, and
I just remember the railroad tracks going across,
up where Helen's bar was.
yeah, up there when they used to
remember
have the
tracks.
guard.
I
They
remember
used
the
to have a
tracks.
guard there, somebody
And then the
there.
tracks went behind the first row of houses,
Yeah.
and then up towards
Right.
White's or Childs.
Yeah.
Pickles used to work. He'd stop the traffic when the train came.
Pickles, that was the janitor over at the school when I was a kid.
Oh, I don't
It's
know.
Pickles a new
No.
frock.
He's a new frock, but it's not the one you know.
Okay.
It
He
was
was an old guy when
He
I
was a new frock, but he worked at certain hours, and that was the OW railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the stations, the train stations? Were they here when you were a kid?
Oh, I remember the one over the
Yeah.
lane,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the D&H, right?
That was a common way to travel back then on the train?
Yeah.
I remember getting on over here to go to a ball game with my next door neighbor, Leila Taman. She was a great baseball enthusiast.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think of it. You never see her any different, a little hat on, and
Yeah.
she loved baseball. She used to listen to the Miners, Scranton Miners.
Yeah.
And she took me down several times. And I'd get down.
Where'd you go to Dunmore to a game? To Schultz Stadium?
Yeah, no, you went up on the hill where the other one was, the old ball field.
In Dunmore?
No, in Scranton.
Scranton.
You go right in. You know where that big fire just was, that tire place?
Yeah.
You go into there and you get off and you'd walk up over the mountain, up over the hill to the top, and that's
Was
where.
the ball field up there?
Yeah, that's where the ball field was. Scranton Miners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was a trip, and that was nice for her to take me. But
Yeah.
she loved her baseball, and she used to keep box score like nothing you ever saw. Perfect.
Yeah.
Tiny little everything marked. She'd listen to home games on the radio, and she loved her baseball, and you would never believe it in your life. You had to
Yeah.
look at the lady. She never
Was-
played it, and she never.
Yeah.
The only place she ever
Was
saw it.
baseball a big thing with kids in town? I mean, back when I was a kid, that's all we did. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked baseball
We
and
only
played
had
baseball and
and basketball.
collect
Yeah.
baseball cards. Did you have baseball cards?
Yeah.
When you were a kid?
But I was never a big collector.
Tobacco cards, or were they the Topps cards? Or Bowman, the little, tiny little ones? You
I
don't remember them?
I didn't do much on cards. I really didn't.
Yeah.
My brother Junior did, but I don't know what
Yeah,
happened. to
I think
his.
Billy did, and I probably threw them out. I don't know. I probably did.
Did you guys collect anything, or were there people that collected things, like stamp collections and marble collections,
Coin collecting.
coin collecting, or anything like that?
My dad used to have a pretty good coin collection, but
We never did.
Where's it at now?
he actually he pretty much turned it all over to the doctor in
Carbondale?
Carbondale.
Oh yeah, that's Mike Staples has all your coins then.
Oh yeah?
Mike Staples married into that family.
What was his name? I can't think of his name.
Kaufman.
Yeah, Kaufman.
Kaufman.
I remember Kaufman being in our house and at the kitchen table with my dad with coins.
Doctors came to the houses back then, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Doc Blows came to our house.
Yeah, I remember Doc Wilson
Oh.
coming all the time.
How much was it for a visit?
Nobody,
Not so
nobody,
much.
nobody knew. He never charged you. You'd pay him whenever you paid him.
Yeah. Maybe
You know, you
$5 or
yeah.
if you had it. Or
Because we had one that used to have seizures and
I don't remember
He
anybody
came
ever
right off.
paying him when he came to our house.
I
It
don't
was
remember.
always,
I don't remember paying anything.
it was always, I'll see you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That was the way it was.
You
Yeah.
never really
Cool
not
guy.
like it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Anything
guys
else?
have anything you want to add to it?
Anything else you
Yeah,
can
Story
think
of
of
the
that we didn't
weekend.
ask?
Yeah. We'll think of stuff, I'm sure, but I'll have to relay it to you another time. But, sports, we used to play a Jim Dan football game every year and baseball game, one game each. And Danny Meehan and Jim Meehan were brothers that had the restaurant.
Yeah.
So they'd each pick a team.
Huh.
And it was a lot of rivalry, but
Were the Talent brothers playing then? Bobby Talent?
no, they were Mayfielders.
They didn't play with you
They-
guys?
no, they were Mayfield. We just played in German.
Oh, okay.
And usually we got our clocks cleaned, but because Danny would get the kids from the Catholic Church because they played football and they had uniforms and they knew the game, you know.
Who was the weightlifting guy?
Oh,
Turpak was his name?
That's
Turk
Mayfield.
guy. Yeah, in Mayfield too.
Mayfield.
My father told me.
But I remember
He was
because
the Olympic coach.
Yeah.
Father, what was the name, had the football over there. When you used to come by your alleyway.
I can't think of his name.
Oh, I can't think of it. Oh my goodness. But anyway, them guys knew how to fake a handoff and come over here. We didn't know nothing, you know. You just go. All I know is you give me the ball, and if you can catch me, you can. But you probably ain't going to catch me. Yeah. And baseball, we do the same thing. Get all muddy, no uniforms, mud, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember?
and you come down, have a hot dog and soda at his place. So.
Do you remember like the famous baseball players in the major leagues back when you were playing? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know who? Like,
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
I was a big Cleveland fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, one year they had 4 20-game winners, and I was all set to win the World Series, and they lost 4 straight to the Giants. Broke me heart. But Red Jones and I used to play a lot of rainy day games of baseball, and he'd keep a scorebook, and he'd keep batting averages. We had the guys listed,
Yeah.
and Red would list them all and have their batting averages and the most valuable player we'd pick by average. And we had one game. I made one for my kids. We had a beanbag baseball, it was called, and there was a small hole. They were diamond shaped, you know, and the small hole was a home run, and the biggest hole was a single, and then the double was smaller, and the third was small, and this one was tiny. And that's how you played it. But little sandbags. Now they're playing this cornhole. It's making me think.
Thing, yeah.
I made
You
one.
invented it.
Yeah, he did.
I made one for the kids, and I put it together with the hinges, so it would fold up, and I painted it green and made the field look like it. And I made my own bags with alleys, you know, the and made beanbags out of my
Speaking of
guts.
alleys, did you play alleys when you were kids?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, played
Yeah.
alleys.
That wasn't much you could shot.
Yeah.
That wasn't. No.
No.
Some guys, wow.
Yeah.
Some guys are awesome.
Nobody plays that now. I don't know if
No.
you can even buy
No,
them.
they don't
Maybe
even
on
know.
the internet.
No, I don't.
They don't know what it is.
Well, they still make them. You
Do
can
they?
buy bags of them, but they're made in China. They're not. Yeah.
Not the real
It's not
McCoy.
like the ones I
Yeah.
remember the ones that when I was a kid there were solid ones.
Monopoly was always a good rainy day game, and we used to play with Mrs. Pyatt since Eleanor's died over here in the apartment over here. She was 89, and
Yeah.
she just died 2 weeks ago. But we used to go to her mother's house, and she'd play Annie. She'd play with us. We'd play Penny Annie, and she loved it.
That's what everybody did on rainy days, and
Yeah.
you know they just played card games.
Always ended up at Pyatt's house.
We played like when I was a kid. We had games called Rook
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Pick up sticks and
did you
Did you ever play
little
pick-up
card games that
sticks?
you'd play, and then I remember playing them as a kid. And
yeah, we played pick up sticks. You know they were.
Did you ever do that one?
The
Yeah.
little.
They're all
Pick-up
colored sticks.
Yeah, colored sticks.
We
Yeah.
played them and
Yeah. Did you have Lincoln Logs and?
yeah,
Yep. Oh yeah.
we have a bag of
Still have a bag of land around
those
somewhere.
things. Yeah, logs.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I enjoyed the olden days. I wish they were here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course, I'd have everybody back.
It's so
Yes.
quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I used to love summer, and I get so aggravated now. Our house is on the corner, and it's set a little high, and I don't know if that's part of the reason, but we always have windows open all over, and between ATVs,
Oh yeah.
motorcycles, cars that they make extremely loud.
Coming from the project, coming down.
Oh my goodness, it's terrible. You can't watch
Yeah,
television.
we tried
for
to
the
stop
noise.
it, and you can't chase the quads because then you get in trouble, and
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know it's hard.
it was always a
Just different
problem.
today. That's all.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
The loudness thing, I don't understand. We used to try to make our cars have a little mellow tone, but not really loud. But
Yeah, now they have the little dinky 4-cylinder cars with the
Yeah.
big muffler coming out the back. They can't go fast, but they make a lot of noise.
yeah,
When did you start hanging around with Willie and Aunt Margaret and Iggy Lindsay and,
oh God.
Oh,
and that
They
crowd?
came to our house a long time.
well, we're
We
down.
stood up for them when they got
Yeah, we
married.
stood up for Margaret
Yeah.
and Willie, but we were down on Gibson Street 50 years.
You're there 50 years.
Amy, our youngest one, was 6 months old when we came there, and she was 50 in January. So we were there 50 this month, I think it was, on July.
Yeah.
And Margaret and Willie came to our house on Lincoln Avenue, so that's a long time.
Yeah.
Margaret and we were friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a lot of good times with them.
Oh God.
Where
Willie-
did she meet Willie? I mean, Willie was from Archibald.
Yeah, he
Right.
was from Archibald. I don't know
Yeah.
how she met him, really.
I never heard
I
that.
never
She never
heard
said anything
how she
much
met him.
about it. And
No, I can't tell you that.
I just
can't
remember
either.
Willie with that Olds. Yeah, everything he had was Oldsmobiles.
Yeah.
He had an Olds 88. I remember that dark maroon colored. It was
Yeah.
a beautiful car. Him and Iggy
Oh,
Lindsay
yeah.
both
He loved
had-
this.
Him and Iggy had the same
Right.
kind of car.
He loved
Well,
his
he had
car.
a brand new truck, wasn't it?
Oh,
Brand new truck.
Brand new.
When our daughter was going to medical school out in Kansas City. And he insisted that Gail take his truck to take her to school because she had to take her,
Yeah, to set up an
you know,
apartment.
she had to set up an apartment, so she took her bed, she wanted to take her bicycle, she wanted, you know, different things. And Willie said, no, you're taking my truck. You're not renting anything, you're gonna take
You're
my
not doing
truck.
it? Brand new.
So we took his truck. He was such a wonderful
Oh, he was.
person.
Oh, he was a super guy.
We had a lot
He
of
was-
good times.
If
with
you were his friend, that
Yeah.
was it. Then
we had a lot of fun with Willie.
Willie, I remember when he was
Oh.
umpiring the softball games over there, and we were waiting to play the second game, and there was an argument over a call, and somebody came to me and they said, "What's the rule?" And I said, "Well, he's wrong, and this is the rule. And they went down and they started arguing with him and said, he says, who told you that? And he pointed to me. And he called me over, he goes, where'd you find that? I said, it's in the rule book on page 242, section 4. He goes, you go get me that book and show me. So I said, it's out in the truck. I went out and I got the rule book and I read it to him. Well, I don't care what it says in that book, it's wrong. He's out. I'll never forget that. And then my father was umpiring. He umpired a little bit.
Yeah.
And they had an argument over a game there, and somebody came to me, I think it was Jerry Colacino. He said, what's the call on that? I said, the call is this. And he went over and he started arguing with my father, and he says, well, you don't know the rules. And he goes, no, but he does. And he pointed to me. And he goes, yeah, well, he's the one that told us this is the rule. And I had to go down, and my father got in an argument, and I said, look, this is the rule, this is the way it is. And I'll never forget it.
Yeah, Willie was so good.
And I'll never forget when Willie was going to get his open heart surgery. He called me in the house and he said to me, he says, come here. Took me down the basement. He said, up behind that rock, he says, is where I stash my money. He said, if anything happens to me, make sure your Aunt Margaret gets that money. But he said, if I come out, don't you say a word about where that money is. He said, that's my money.
Yeah,
Sweet roll.
He loved to go down Dixon City to get chicken in the basket. A little bar down there that had a little restaurant in the back.
Oh,
And we used to go there, him
that's
and
great.
Margaret and Gail and I. And one time we were coming up Einan Road, and none of those things were built there, you know, it was just woods.
The no homes.
And
Yeah.
he had seen the cop down the road. And, you know, he pulled in one of those dark roads down there and stopped. Because he knew the cop had come in to check on us, you know. Here, Margaret and I are in the back seat, and Gail and Willie in the front seat, and the cop came to the window.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was
God.
so...
We had a good laugh.
You never knew
You
what
didn't know
Willie
what
was
was
going
going
to
on.
do.
Nuh-uh.
Wow.
He was a corker.
We had a good time with Margaret and Willie.
Yeah.
Margaret was a good friend.
He'd show up to the house with what ice cream was it? Dolly Madison.
Dolly
Madison.
Madison.
He'd go to Ferp up in Mayfield because he sold
Yeah,
Dolly
Dolly
Madison.
Madison,
That was the most expensive
They
one.
used
but
to
he
love to
liked
come up and they'd take they had the movie camera, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and
yes, yeah,
they'd
we
take
we had
pictures.
tons of pictures and
Tons of
8
pictures.
millimeter, and I had them converted, but I had waited too long and they didn't come
Oh.
out very well.
Oh,
But
wow.
one year for Christmas, I gave a set to each one of the kids, so they'd have.
They had
The
us.
quality was not good. I was very disappointed, but it was my fault. I guess I waited
It
too
was
long.
fun, but we had a good time with them. We went
Well,
on a few.
Thank you for coming
Yeah,
down. I
thank
want
you.
you can look around and
Yeah,
see all the
on
stuff
this-
that we have. I appreciate you
We
coming.
better go before
July the 12th,
our poor dog
2018.
comes along.
Thank you very much.
He's
This
never been
new
left
puppy